What's up, guys? This is Young Shot here, back here today to give you guys another video. This time we're going to be doing it on Deni Avdija from Maccabi Tel Aviv. He's a really good prospect from the international game that's going to be entering the draft class this year. According to Arjun Warrenowski, he is a very interesting prospect to look at, and not many people know him from this draft class, but it's going to be most likely a top 10 pick going into the lottery. So let's take a great look at him and let's explore what he can do for a certain team that might be coming up to pick him in this 2020 NBA draft that's coming up in the summer. Now, as you guys know, I'm probably going to be doing a playlist as far as all the rookies that's coming by. So I'm going to be doing more of these prospect breakdowns as much as possible and basically giving you guys a much more detailed scouting report and everything. And I'm also gonna show love to all the sources that I found it from. I'm gonna show all the sources as well in the description below to make sure everybody knows where to find the source and how credible it is, and make sure everything is correct. So we're gonna get into the video. If you guys liked the last video on Karasanov, and yes, I mispronounced the name plenty of times, but please don't kill me. Regardless of that, leave a like, subscribe there. It's really good viewing on what the new president of the Chicago Bulls most likely is going to do. Again, they just fired Farman, and pretty much not knowing what they're going to do with Jim Boylan as of yet. So updated news just to make sure, but and otherwise than that, let's just get on straight to the video. So this year's top draft prospect in terms of international players, Deni Avdija, was born on January 3rd, 2001. He was an Israel-Serbian professional basketball player who played for Maccabi Tel Aviv for the Israelite Basketball Premier League and the EuroLeague. He is also the son of the former Olympic player Zafar Aviv, and his father, who was a very I could say good basketball player because it runs in his family. He has genes. His mom was also a track star. But let's get to his father. His father was a 1982 bronze medalist of the FIBA World Championship in Colombia, and in 1983 he won a gold medal in the Mediterranean Games in Morocco, both playing for the Yugoslavian national basketball team. So this kid has some, athletic background already into his system. But let's just tell what he did for his time when he was overseas. Now in 2000, he's still overseas, by the way, but during this time, 2017, he was the youngest player to debut for Maccabi Tel Aviv. He won the MVP during the 2018 Charlotte All-Star Game Basketball Without Borders game, which is basically where a lot of international players basically play and basically showcase their talents for the draft class to come up, or just in general for the next years to come. And pretty much he played and got MVP out of that game, so that's really important. In 2018-2019, he became a rotational player for Maccabi Tel Aviv for the Israel Premier League, and in the following season began receiving a regular playing time across all competitions. Not only that, 2019 he won 2 gold medals for Israel at the youth level, including 2019 FIBA Under-20 European Championship, and was named the MVP for that championship league. Right now, April 1st, coming of this year, especially due to the COVID-19, I hope everybody's safe from that. Avdija joined Israel's Defense Forces and will complete his service in North America while basketball is suspended. So right now, he's basically serving his duty in the Israel Army, which is okay. And during the meantime, he's also entered his name for the NBA draft that is coming up. So expect him to basically get drafted by a team that's going to be most likely in the 6th or 7th round, which ESPN has him projected. Now, let's go into his physical profile and let's see what he can match up with for his physical composition as he's coming into the draft. Now, Avdija is a physical profile according to Stepien.com info and also ESPN info as well. His height is 6'8", 3/4 to 6'8". Weight of 215 to 218 pounds. I basically put 215 to 218 pounds to make sure that you have the correct and accurate weight. His wingspan is 6'9" and a half. His standing reach is also 8 feet and 5 inches. He's compared to TJ Warren coming out, Doug McDermott, and Chris Middleton. Now, if you know anything about those guys, they're literally tall, at the size that they're at, or at least buff enough. TJ Warren 6'8", Doug McDermott, long, lengthy arms, can shoot, and Chris Middleton is long, athletic, a little bit slow, but at least has a physical composite to make him, you know, a good defender. Now, during his stats during Maccabi Tel Aviv, and this is after the season, or pretty much when the season was still going, due to the COVID-19 outbreak, the season stopped short, but this is what he was averaging. He was averaging 7.7 a game as far as points, rebound 4.1, his assists was 1.7, his steals was 0.5, his blocks was 0.6, his free throws 52%, his three-pointer was 33.6, and his field goal was 51. And translating that to the college game, or just in general for the NCAA, or just pretty much going to the NBA, his true shooting was 58%, effective field goal was 58, his three-point rating was 43, his free throw attempt rating was 27.2, and his projected NBA three-pointer would be a 32%. Now, but the bright spot about this, assist and turnover ratio is 1 turnover per game, which is really good, because I mean, considering him being a very good ball handler and everything, I didn't even get to that yet. It's a really good stat line. Now, what really intrigues a lot of people about Avdija's skills is mostly where he's going to be projected at and what he can basically do for a team. So let's look into that very carefully, and let's see what he can actually bring to the team. For Avdija, his projection and position. So pretty much I gather all of the rankings for every projection that's out there as far as the websites go, as far as where he's going to be landing at. And for ESPN, he's been landed 5th or 6th. For Tankathon, 3rd. For NBA Scouting Live, 5th. For Bleacher Report Scouting, they have him 2nd. And for NBA Draft.net, 7th. And NBA Draft from 6th. His true and this is the average spot, which I just gathered through medians. His true projection is most likely a 4th or 5th round pick for the NBA draft that's coming up. Now, if you guys don't know Deni Avdija or didn't read about him or anything, let's get into that right now. So he is a playmaking forward, can pretty much play small forward. It can split time at small forward / power forward. Does it remind you of somebody? Second and third playmaking option, and can basically put the ball on the floor, can run pick and roll if needed, can basically run through the pick and roll, has the big as well, and also just show, and also could just stand in the corner and just get ready for catch and shoot opportunities as well. Now, this reminds me of a lot like Dario Saric or Danilo Gallinari still coming in or still going up into the league. Now, he's not as tall as Dario Saric or Danilo Gallinari, but you can see that some aspects of his game can compare to two of them. Now, I'm going to get into it, and you're going to see the reason why I say Danilo Gallinari or Dario Saric. Okay, so now let's look at his strengths in his offense as well, and then basically go down his strengths and then go down to his weakness and show why he kind of gets that comparison for me. So let's begin. Very good passer for the forward. So he loves to push the ball and kick it up in transition, especially after getting a rebound. He can make full court passes and has the strength to basically kick and basically extend plays after the rebound. He can literally rebound, dish it off quickly as possible up the court. Kind of like a Kevin Love baseball pass or a full court pass from Kevin Love that you see from Cleveland. And he's able to basically make the pass and put it on the move sometimes too. So he's a really exceptional passer with great vision. Not only that, he can also drive and kick and drop and be a really good drop-off passer. So he can create for others as well and do his job very well, especially for his size, which is being 6'8", and a lot of 6'8" forwards do not have that ability. He can handle the ball very nicely. He just needs a little bit of tightening on his right hand side, but he's a very good lefty and can pretty much drive in and control plays still, and has a really good assist to turnover ratios, which means he's not going to turn over the ball that much during his time or whenever he does get to the NBA. So he's a very patient passer. He has good timing. He uses fakes. He can pass from a 3-level pass point from the pick and roll. He can roll, spot up, and do baseline cut passes as well. He's a low turnover guy. As I said, his height is an extraordinary advantage, especially when he's trying to pass. Not only that, he's a good finisher and good cutter. He has a soft touch with either hand. He has a very textbook fundamental finish. He can finish through contact. Out of the 41 attempts that he was going up for a layup, he only got blocked one time off a cut pass or just trying to go inside to the finish. He's 31 of 41 shot inside. He only shot 76% inside the paint, which is really good. 27 out of the 31 around the rim, or pretty much any basket that's around the rim, have been assisted on. So it shows how much of a good cutter he is and how much attention he pays to the defense. He draws fouls. He uses a series of up fakes and pump fakes a lot, but sometimes this is just due to him just being unnecessary to show the up fake or just basically being hesitant. And he also shows promise of staying low, not getting bumped off his spot, and shows the ability to grab and attack off the bounce sometimes, which shows in his handle. He can actually get to his spot. Now, he's not the best, as I said, he's not the best handler. He just can't, obviously get to his spots every time. But when he does, or when he shows off that very good crafty ball handling or just pretty much crafty passing, he can be a really good player in terms of just basically becoming a secondary playmaker, a third playmaker as well. And he also does a great job improvising cuts off the finish. Another thing is he's a really good post-up player. He is efficient in post-up, especially when he's going against a smaller player. He likes overpowering smaller players. He uses drop sets, flash spins, turnarounds, and everything. He can basically get to his spot and knows what he's going to do right after he sees his matchups, or when he's posted up and seeing his matchup. He also does a great job sealing off his matchup as well as defender, especially if they're smaller than him. He's either go fully behind or in front, make sure that his opponent is fully behind or in front. He attacks mismatches and switches on smaller players as well. As I said, physical in the post, and does a great job from not being dislodged of where he want to go. He want to show his physicality, and basically it displays it with a lot of tremendous talent. Not only that, he is great passing out of the post. Now his shot IQ is really good as well. He plays to his strength and keep it simple. He's a little bit afraid to shoot sometimes, but hey, when he does, he keeps it simple. He knows when to shoot, he knows when not to shoot. He basically is a team player, and I understand that. 47% of his attempts has been in and around the rim. That includes post-ups, where he's very effective. It keeps a nice job keeping his game simple, and most of his jumpers are really just catch and shoot. 80% of the time it was mostly catch and shoot and one step into jumpers. He's also on defense. Now, he might not have the best wingspan, but he's a high level team defender and has really good awareness. So pretty much if a team is running pick and roll, he's a great person to basically tag the roller. He's a great person to see to help the helper just in case something happens. He does a great job knowing where his teammates are. He does a great job recognizing the ball and where his defender is, and also talks on defense very well, and basically should not be shied away, especially on the defensive end. Now, you don't want him to guard your best player, but he is a person that can at least guard or stay in front of somebody, at least to, get some minutes, if anything. He's limited on athleticism and length, which is one of his downfalls, but he uses basketball IQ, which helps him a lot. He's a very good basketball-minded player, and that's from just great coaching from his father, especially playing at the very high level. Not only that, just his teammates probably, or all the experience that he's been gaining from international play. Nice job at rotating in the perimeter to help when needed. If there's a flare, he does a nice job covering it, moving to the uncovering man. He has really good, nice rim protection. He does a nice job rotating to protect the rim from the weak side. He does a nice job avoiding fouls in the paint by going straight up, or doing a solid job contorting his body to avoid contact. This is basically the verticality rule. He does a great job just putting his hands up and doing whatever he needs to do to pretty much not be called a foul whatsoever. His pick and roll defense, for Maccabi Tel Aviv, they usually tend to switch a lot when Deni is defending at the point of the attack in the pick and roll, because he has solid size and enough size to battle with bigs in a pinch. So pretty much whenever he is switched on to a screen, he has a great job of basically holding his ground against other bigs. So when he is mismatched against another big on the defensive end, he at least does a good job sealing them off making sure they fight for their bucket, and basically does a good job basically fighting and making sure that the guy doesn't get position, and if he does a great job defending and just putting his hands up and basically making sure the defender doesn't get what he wants. Now he also, when they do not switch, he does a solid job getting over. He fights through screens and makes effort to get back into play. You really like that in a young kid, especially at his age of 19. He does a great job just trying to make sure he gets around on the screen and make sure that he fights, and that's all what coaches want in the NBA. His shot contests and closeouts, he does a nice job making multiple efforts on closeout when he has to. He's a good angle to contest at times as well. He's probably not the quickest player due to a lack of vertical pop, but regardless of not, he's going to make that effort. A lot of NBA teams, a lot of players that comes in don't really showcase a lot of effort, and especially they don't give a lot of effort in terms of the defensive end. But this man is going to do his work. Even though he's not the most athletic, he's going to do his job to the best of his ability, and that's all you want. The off-ball and on-ball ISOs from show flashes, he can do a nice job getting around screens, and he does a nice job, solid job, at least moving with the ball handlers. So he can somewhat mirror the ball handler, but especially if they're a little bit too fast, he has a little bit of problems. Now let's get on to his weaknesses, if anything. As I babbled about his strengths, and there's a lot of strengths, so we gotta go straight to the weaknesses. So of course Avdija has his pretty much 6'8" wingspan, 6'8" height. His wingspan is very short, and he's really not the best in weight in terms of just basically how he's weighted right now, 215 to 218 pounds, especially playing the small forward, power forward. You need to bulk up a little bit, and his physicality is one of his weaknesses. Now, as I said, when he's matched up against smaller people or pretty much going against, bigs or whatever, he challenged them, and that's really good, especially with his height. But when it comes to his weight, he can be pushed around a little bit. He's not quick laterally. He does not have much vertical pop in crowded areas. His hip turns aren't good and rigid, meaning that he can pretty much can't react to certain things in a certain time due to other players, and just basically comparing it to other players. So example, somebody like Bismack Biyombo that played in the Basketball Without Borders, probably years ago. His hip turns is very quick and solid, very athletic, compared to Avdija, who can't really react to things very quickly or just get back into play in time after leaving off his feet, or at least adjusting his body to a certain way. He just cannot get it through time. He needs to improve his strength and balance. His balance is off whenever he is facing against a more difficult or stronger opponent, or just a quicker opponent. He just usually gets brushed by. Now his offense, again, as I said, he does not have good vertical pop to finish well. He cannot finish very good at the rim in terms of his dunking, or in terms of just basically showing a little bit of muscle, or just getting up there and just try to score inside the paint. He's very usually open on catching drives as well in crowded areas. 3 of his 27 layup attempts, or just basically at the basket attempts, were dunks. So only 3 dunks was made from him, and that was just mostly wide open, or he only caught one body as far as a post, and that was it. He's not creative or crafty on finishes. The only option for him is usually for his offhand, or just extending his wingspan. His wingspan is not that great either, so just basically extending his wingspan only gives him a little bit of help, but that's about it. He needs to improve his finishing around contested bigs. He is very fundamental, as I said, and he doesn't really look to creative finishes or try to be creative with his finishes at times, or don't even try to hide the ball at times. He's very just fundamental, taught how to just basically keep the ball, basically go out with his offhand, the simple layup packages that you see in the NBA 2K20 game. This man will basically do them, but not really creative around the rim to basically go against a shot blocking big in the NBA, such as that. He needs to develop a facial game in the post. He needs to develop basically turn around, just basically giving a spot up jumper in the post against smaller players, using his height somehow, some way to basically shoot over defensive instead of just backing them down, which is still a good thing. Backing them down and showing dominance, but also too, you got to show how much you can basically, you know, progress your game as far as the post. Many people is gonna not settle for you backing them down all the way, and they're gonna bring help. So you gotta find a way how to counteract, how to shoot over defenses as well. He needs to work on his footwork and be more advanced, especially in the post up. His footwork needs a lot of work, even though he does a lot of turnaround jump shots, especially in the post area against smaller players. He just needed to work on his footwork mostly, and just basically showcase that, hey, I'm more than just a back down player. I'm more than just showing a fadeaway jump shot or a drop step. And I can actually, you know, use some fakes, use some good footwork to basically get the shots that I want. He's not a really good shooter, and he's never been good at all. And you can see in some of the photographs the way his shooting form is. He's got a little crutch on his jump shot, which is really weird, especially coming from an international game, but I think it will be fixed up during the NBA, especially when he continues to work hard and basically get it done in time. But right now, his shot is a mess. He was 26 of 94 on all jumpers for this season for Maccabi Tel Aviv, 22 of 76 on catch and shoot. He shot 52% from the free throw line, and he was below percent of the 3-point line, especially in the NBA level, which is 33.6%. He has a great form, but he has a poor motion, and release for his shot is very horrid. So that explains a lot in his free throw. It explains a lot in his shot. His shooting versatility isn't that great either. So you can't really put him in pick and rolls. You can't really put him off screens or pin downs or anything. He's very limited. He can still create, don't get me wrong, but it's not the best to basically put him in. He's pretty much limited on pin downs and dribble handoffs, but not off the pick and roll. So pretty much he can operate in pick and roll, but he's mostly just a playmaker at that point, or just attacking the rim and basically shooting up floaters, or basically, you know, shooting up pull-up jump shots. But besides from that, it's not consistent. He can create against mismatches against bigs, but he's not consistent enough to basically knock down shots against bigs. So he needs to work on that completely, especially when he has the mismatch and nothing's really going for the offense. He needs to find a way to basically showcase his talent and basically drive against the more slower big, or just basically create some separation at least against bigs. And again, it's not consistent. He needs to work on that shot. Now, as for his defense, he needs to work on his shot timing and basically improve on his vertical pop, especially from the standstill position. This man, as soon as he basically is up to contest the shot, the only thing he could do is contest the shot, and that's pretty much it. He cannot basically get a good timing off the shot. It could cause him a little bit to, you know, draw a little bit of fouls here and there from his opponent. He basically could get in foul trouble when it gets to the NBA. Again, in the international game, it's not much, but when it gets to the NBA, it's going to be a problem. He can be late on beating the ball to the spot and contesting, making players finish over him, meaning he's just pretty much very slow in terms of basically contesting the shot or just reacting to shots in general. He can't get skinny enough to get over without a slight bump off pick and rolls, and he's often a step too high when pushed high off the recovery off of pick and roll defense. And again, he fights through screens, but again, his physical attributes, he's very skinny, can't really get skinny enough, or can't really just maneuver himself out from slight bumps or pick and rolls, and sometimes get demolished or just pretty much plays too high on pick and rolls, which leads his guys to just drive straight through and basically create off the attack. He has a lack of length that will make it difficult to contest, especially going under screens, and pretty much meaning there might be a little bit more pressure for the big to help out on the screen. So literally, if he's going underneath a screen, and say if he's going against a really good shooter, he's going to have a hard time basically reaching out his arms and basically having to contest. And the bigs is most likely going to have to help out as much as possible to prevent that shot from happening. He also gets a little bit jumpy at the point of attack with jab steps. He needs to stay down. He bites on a lot of fakes, especially on all ball when he's basically guarding by himself. ISO, he gets a little bit jumpy on fakes, so he needs to keep that at a minimum. He's occasionally slow on closeout when the shooter is far away. Again, he shows effort, but again, he's not athletic enough to get there in time to basically show effort and basically close out. He can sometimes close out too hot, or his hips is usually open instead of being neutral, open up the driving lane or pull up jumper. So basically gets left in the dust, or basically plays up too high and basically gets left up in the dust, and pretty much the person that he's defending usually blows right by him for an open drop to layup, which creates more problems for the defense. Or they go up for a pull-up jump shot, which 9 out of 10 times, if it's a wide open jump shot, they're most likely going to hit, because sometimes it can help out too far into his assignment when he's playing the pin, he's tagging the roll, stunning, and forced to scramble and ends up leaving open looks. Now, he is still a really good talent in terms of basically helping out off ball, and we're not saying that he's not a bad off ball player or just not a bad player in general in terms of team defense, but he sometimes could leave somebody open, especially when he's helping out too much or helps out far out from his assignment. Now, if he's tagging a roller, if he's playing the pin down, if he's stunning and just, showing his face or whatever, he doesn't get back too quickly, especially if the offensive player is very smart, especially in the NBA level. It's going to be very tough on him to basically get back in time just due to his athleticism not being there. It's going to be really tough against some of these players that has very good IQ and know how to get their shots. So especially when he's guarding JJ Redick off of pin downs, that's going to be tough for him to basically take out. His angles he takes while trying to get around screens aren't great. He does not read where the ball currently is, where it's going, and where his man is going with the ball. He doesn't have really good sense of how to where the ball is going to basically go at, especially in defensive end. But on offensive end, he showcases that a lot. So he pretty much has the vision of where he wanted to do, where he want to go at. But in terms of defense, he doesn't really know how to basically cut off a guy through angles. And yes, he might, again, as I said, he's not the most athletic, but again, you can basically kill some of that athleticism with some IQ, especially on the defensive end. He doesn't have that yet in terms of how to cut off angles, especially in the pick and roll, or how to get around screens in terms of off-ball screens, which is going to be really bad for him, especially when he's fighting through screens or basically trying to follow somebody that's getting around screens. He helps too much off ball. He sinks too far in the paint and sometimes have to scramble on closeouts. Like I said earlier, he sometimes can ball watch and not react in time. So if a player sees that somebody's cutting, or Deni sees that a player is cutting, and he basically reacts too late, the player is already in front of him, is already going to the basket, already about to catch and about to finish. It's really tough for him to basically get in front and do something about it. He also is not very good laterally in terms of being an athlete, and hip turns aren't that good. He also has trouble guarding quicker guards and can't mirror them. He's have trouble basically guarding against people that is very quick on the ball. Like say for example Shane Larkin, that played for Maccabi Tel Aviv and played in the international ball for other teams. He has troubles at times basically guarding him or guarding people like him, who basically is very quick and basically can move around at any point with a quick ball handling skills, and very wobbly in keeping up. This is meaning he needs to improve that balance. Now let's talk about his NBA comparisons. As I said, you're going to see why, and just through all the scouting reports, this is why I said Dario Saric or Danilo Gallinari is probably the best comparison for him coming into the NBA. Now, Aviv is pretty much having a comparison towards, and this is what NBA Draft Room said, Mike Miller, which I don't agree on. Mike Miller is far from what he is, but I do feel as though he can be a guy that can basically have team defense and basically playmaker. Now, Mike Miller, as you guys know, is a very good sharpshooter that retired from the Miami Heat and also played on Memphis Grizzlies. But this man was a really good shooter, but he also had really good defensive instincts as far as his skill, as far as his play on the defensive end. He's not the most athletic player, as I said, but he at least accounts to what he's very limited at with his IQ, and also was a solid passer coming in, especially coming off of pin down screens and everything. Now, a lot of people are saying he's a downgraded version of Luka Doncic, and I can see a little bit of that. He can create at times for himself. He can basically, you know, do a little bit of step backs, has very crafty dribbling moves, but again, not the best dribbler, but again, could still dribble at his size. He's 6'8", and he can still put the ball on the floor and run off a pick and roll. So at least you could say, hey, you know, this guy could, you know, potentially become a little bit somewhat of Luka Doncic. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Luka Doncic, obviously, but you could show some qualities in him and actually, you know, still showcase some of his abilities here and there, especially if given the keys to. His best comparison is Dario Saric, I believe, or Danilo Gallinari. Now, this is from Cleveland.com. Dario Saric was the comparison from the guy called Fasella, and pretty much Dario Saric is kind of the comparison I would go for. Dario Saric, as I said, 6'10", a little bit more taller than Aviv, but pretty much Aviv is more athletic. He has more offensive mind and open court, more perimeter oriented, but they kind of have the same play style in terms of how they played. Saric is a really good playmaker at the 4. He could pretty much score and shoot at the 4. He could pretty much, you know, he could go up and finish off of cuts or whenever. He's a really decent player and is earning very good minutes, especially for a team that he's playing on right now, and it showcases every time he gets on the floor. Now, his shooting was a little bit off, but Aviv's shooting is off right now, and Saric's shooting actually improved as he gone to the NBA throughout the years, shooting from almost 28% going up to 32% and now 36%, which is a really good mark for a really good three-point shooter, especially in NBA, which is the average mark. So as long as you can get that average mark, you're good to go in the NBA, and that's how I feel. Another player, as I said, Danilo Gallinari. Now, Gallinari again was a shooter coming straight through and through, but he had to develop how to create for himself and basically how to find teammates. And now when he comes up to the NBA level now and where he's at now compared to where he was at his rookie season, Danilo Gallinari now has a poster game. He can basically face up and shoot. He can basically back down whenever he's ready. He can also pass really well, and he has a really good jump shot, which he can basically track from pin downs. He can basically shoot, catch and shoot. He's a really good, developed, established international player in the NBA, and I feel as though Aviv could be somewhat like that coming through in the NBA, and I feel as though that's going to really help him, especially going into the NBA level, if he can somewhat follow that mold that Danilo Gallinari is kind of following. Now, as far as the summary, I feel David is a very smart and skilled basketball player, somewhat of a jack of all trades. He's a very good facilitator that tends to make sound reads and plays on his offense. He's a sound competitor that gives it all on to both ends. He's a very hard worker to get. He gets up a lot of shots, especially during practice, and he comes in practice before and stays late getting shots up after the game or after practice. He's also pretty much holds himself very to very high standards, and again, his father played a big role in that, especially developing him at a younger age. He does a nice job also playing the lead role, but also can play the background role. He doesn't mind basically sharing the spotlight with other teammates, or just basically just being a teammate in general. He's a team player through and through, and that's all it is. Now, his ceiling, as I said, I'm just going to explain his ceiling from this point on. His ceiling is a secondary playmaker, in my point, that a playmaker forward that can develop into a bit of everything at a very high level, can develop into a solid shooter. As a medium playmaker, as a medium ceiling, I feel like he's a playmaker. As a forward, he's a jack of all trades. He can find minutes, but is very limited due to his outside shot. He hurts spacing and effectiveness, and his low ceiling, I feel, for me, he's an energy guy like a Mario Hezonja, who does a little bit of everything at average or below average, and his shot just never comes. The only improvements that I need to see from him is just his shooting, getting better at his athleticism a little bit, and continue to be stronger at what he does. Now, some quotes that we're going to go on the way as we come back. So Avdija has been basically scouted a lot around a lot of players and a lot of scouts in the NBA. ESPN Mike Smits, who basically runs Draft Express, that is now converted to the ESPN, he interviewed Derek Williams, a former number 2 pick from Arizona. If you guys know Derek Williams, the high-flying Derek Williams, that used to play for the Timberwolves and basically was promised, a lot. He pretty much said about Deni Avdija, pretty much said he has a great size and good feel for the game. There are players all over the world who sees his talent, but what really sets Deni apart is his confidence and his basketball IQ. Fran Fraschilla, who's from Cleveland.com, that says, got that comparison from Dario Saric. He said Avdija has also played against NBA former talents such as Shane Larkin, Nikola Mirotic, Nick Calathes, Anthony Randolph, Greg Monroe, Derek Williams, and countless of others. And pretty much from Bleacher Report, it says from right here as well that pretty much he shows a lot of upside. And this again from Mike Smith, he shows a lot of upside and versatility from his spot. Now, he might not be the best player in terms of ceiling goes, but when it comes to basically just going onto a team and basically showcasing what he does, he has a lot to offer at the NBA level and can basically find minutes almost anywhere that he plays at, especially at the 3 spot or the 4 spot, depending on how the team is formatted. And I really believe Deni Avdija can pretty much get to that spot. Now, we're going to close it out with this video right here and give our final opinions on Deni Avdija and where he possibly may go into the draft. So Avdija, as I said, Avdija is a really skilled basketball player in terms of his playmaking abilities and what he can do and what he can offer at his length and size, especially for the NBA game. But again, he lacks athleticism, which is a very big question, especially going to the NBA. And I feel as though without that or whatever, it's going to be really tough for him. But now I see that he has really good basketball IQ after reading the scouting report, and he may be okay. I feel as though he's going to develop a really good role with a really good team and actually give them minutes, especially coming off the bench at first. And then from there, he's just going to have to improve. But I feel as though he's going to be a really good player coming up for a team. I feel as though he's going to be a really good starter in the NBA, and I feel as though he's not going to really lose his spot that much. And if he does, he becomes a 6-man type of player, which is going to be still affecting a team. He's going to be a really good international player coming into the NBA. I'm really excited to see his progress to whatever team he goes. Now, I said his true projection is 4th or 5th. A lot of people are saying he might go down to 6th or 7th. I feel as though any team that really needs him, like New York or even Chicago, or just in general any other team that just needs a point forward on their squad, somebody that can take some of the pressure off of a point guard, he's going to do a really good job and basically has the experience playing against other NBA players from before and other international players from before. He's going to do a really good job. And as I said, the hard-working nature of this man, the sky's the limit, I feel. I'm not going to say he's going to be a really good player in the NBA. He's not going to be a superstar, but he's really going to be a good player as far as a starter. Now, guys, if you like this video, again, I said another long video in the books, but if you guys really like this video on the scouting report and want to see more of the scouting reports that I put up, again, especially with international players or just players in general, put in the comment section who you want to see me do as far as a scouting report, and I'll basically do a lot of research. And again, I want to put a special thanks to the people that I basically got the reports from, or just basically put together and do a lot of research from the Stepien.com, from Tankathon, from a lot of other places, NBA Draft Room, NBA Scouting Live, and especially ESPN Scouting, especially from Draft Express, and looking at some of the videos from them. It pretty much gave me a better understanding of Aviv, and you guys should check them out. I'll leave a description, especially with all the links that's going on as far as everybody, and also post it up on this video as well, so you guys can check it out as well. But I'm going to leave the links in the description below. And with that, guys, I am out. This is Diesel Claw Journalism. Peace, everybody.